All right, let's talk about a word we hear all the time, a word that touches millions of lives. But what does it really mean? What is dementia? We're going to break it all down.
So to really get a sense of the scale here, let's just start with this number, 55 million. According to the World Health Organization, that's how many people are living with dementia right now, all across the globe.
I mean, that's a staggering number, and it's only set to grow. But it also brings us right back to that fundamental question. We all use the word, but what are we actually talking about? Okay, and this right here, this is probably the single most important thing to understand. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Dementia is not one specific disease. It's actually an umbrella term. Think of it like having a fever. The fever isn't the illness itself, right? It's a symptom that's caused by something else, like the flu. Well, dementia is the same idea. It's a whole collection of symptoms, things that affect memory, reasoning, even personality, that are caused by a bunch of different underlying diseases.
And this image really helps you see what we mean. Under that one big dementia umbrella, the experience can look so different from person to person. For one person, it might start as confusion. For another, it might be pulling away from friends and family. There's just no single predictable path.
So if dementia is the umbrella, what are the actual diseases hiding underneath it? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the specific conditions that are causing these symptoms.
This chart breaks it down for us pretty clearly. As you can see, Alzheimer's disease is the big one, by far the most common cause, accounting for about 60% of cases. Then you've got vascular dementia, which is often tied to strokes. And after that, a whole range of others, like dementia with Lewy bodies, making up the rest.
And to really get how different these conditions can be, let's just compare two of them. With Alzheimer's, that classic early sign is memory trouble. But with something called frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, a person's memory might be totally fine at first. Instead, the first signs are often these really noticeable changes in their personality, their behavior, or how they use language. Now here's another really interesting distinction. Both dementia with Lewy bodies, or DLB, and Parkinson's disease dementia, PDD, are caused by the very same thing, these abnormal protein deposits. So what's the difference? Well, it all comes down to timing. If the dementia symptoms show up before or at the same time as motor problems like tremors, it's called DLB. But if someone has had Parkinson's for years before those cognitive issues start, then it's diagnosed as PDD. It's a subtle but crucial difference. And this is what's actually going on at a microscopic level. What you're looking at here is an actual Lewy body. It's this toxic little clump of protein that builds up inside brain cells, messing up how they work and talk to each other. And that's what leads to all the symptoms people experience. Okay, so you might be wondering, with all this complexity, how in the world do doctors figure out what's going on? Well, it's definitely not as simple as one blood test. It's really a careful, systematic process. To make sure nothing gets missed, experts often use a framework, kind of like the one you see here. It's a multi-step journey. It involves getting a really detailed history from the patient and their family, doing cognitive tests, and then using tools like lab work and brain scans. The goal is to piece all of that evidence together, like a detective, to find the most likely cause. Let's shift gears now, from the clinical side of things to the human side. I want to focus on a very common, and often very difficult, experience for people with dementia and the people who love them. It's a phenomenon called sundowning, and the name is pretty literal. Just as the sun goes down, a person's confusion, anxiety, and agitation can get a whole lot worse. It's a very real and distressing part of the condition for about 1 in 5 people with Alzheimer's. So what does that actually look like? Well, it can show up as restless pacing, sudden agitation, or even paranoia. Sometimes people can even see things that aren't really there. For families, just understanding that this isn't the person, but a symptom of the disease, is such a crucial first step. Now, the good news is there are things that can really help. Experts have found that a lot of non-medical strategies can make a huge difference. Simple things like keeping a predictable daily routine, making sure rooms are bright and well lit in the evening, and playing some calming music. It's all about creating a stable and reassuring environment. So, managing symptoms at home is absolutely critical. But what about improving quality of life on a much bigger scale? For that, let's look at this really inspiring real-world example of what community support can actually look like. So, Shanghai was facing a rapidly aging population, and they launched this massive initiative. They didn't just build a few more clinics. No, they built community support projects in every single one of their 216 city districts, with a huge focus on social connection and quality of life.
And how did people feel about it? The response was just incredible. Look at this data. An overwhelming 85% of participants were satisfied or very satisfied with these programs. That just proves how deeply this kind of community support is needed.
So what were they actually doing? It was all about creating connection and purpose through activities that were engaging and culturally familiar. Things like gardening, playing traditional games, singing old familiar songs, and doing Tai Chi together.
And this quote from the World Health Organization's report on the whole project just says it all. It boils down to a simple but really powerful idea. When support is centered on the person and rooted in their own culture, people show up, they're happier, and they find it genuinely useful. And this all leaves us with one last, really important question. We've seen that dementia is this complex umbrella of conditions, but we've also seen these incredibly hopeful and effective models for community care. So the question for all of us is this: as our world continues to age, how are we going to build communities that truly care for every mind?